Mrs. Mother Love, coming to you live and in living color. We have a blooming background, and with Mr. Kennedy, oh my goodness, there's so much stuff to talk about. Let's just get right to it.
Okay.
Okay. I was reading this article about this woman, this young woman who went to a store, went to TJ Maxx and applied for a job.
Okay.
Okay, she's young, like 22, 23.
Yes.
She from California.
Yes.
So she goes to TJ Maxx, she puts in her application, and she doesn't get the job. She said that TJ Maxx didn't even, they sent her like an automated email to tell her she didn't get the job.
Okay.
Okay, so she wasn't satisfied with that. Why can't I get a job here? Why did you turn me down? And so the HR person, the hiring manager, she says, well, we don't think you have enough experience. You need to get more experience before you can come and do this job. Okay. It could have been her working on her first job. Well, she said she didn't think it was because she didn't, have enough experience to work to get, to get the job.
Okay.
Because, it was going to be a job. And so they told her, so she goes in and she says, well, I'd like to know why you didn't hire me. So HR lady says, well, you just don't have enough experience. And so she's thinking in her mind, she left, but how can I get experience if nobody will hire me? So how will I ever get up to that point? So she said, I know what it is. It wasn't that I didn't have the qualifications. I could do the job. I believe it was because of my 11 scabillion tattoos and piercings all over my body. She's heavily tattooed. She's got the tattoo on her all over her face. She got a dark sleeve all down her arm. She got tattoos all up in her face and everything, and a big nose ring. And she got her ears where they look. And I forgot. And she got implanted horns on her forehead. And she said, I think it's because of my tattoos. HR said no, it's because we don't think that you don't have enough job experience. Now, you could go on her TikTok page. You could go on the internet, on Yahoo, because that's where I saw the story. And there's a picture of her, and I'm looking at her, and I've learned I don't agree with people being tattooed up like that. I mean, that's just my own personal thing. I also don't believe that you should be judging people by how they look. Okay, but then that's a whole nother issue. I mean, I've been judged for how I look for so many years.
I mean,
I didn't have a tattoo. I ain't never had a tattoo.
No, but people, we as human beings, we do judge each other on our appearances. I mean, whether it's right or wrong, good or bad.
Right.
We do. I mean, because we're visual creatures.
Right.
We do look at you and say, "Oh, you're pleasing to the eye." You're not pleasing to the eye. Whatever you look at someone and you're photogenic, and so when people look at you, that automatically they say, "Oh wow, she comes across the camera in a certain way because of her personality, how she looks." I mean, that's why when casting people are looking for people to play certain roles, you look at their appearance. Do they fit that particular role? So to say that we don't do that would be incorrect because we do. If you look now, I say in her defense is that you look at the young people of today are have far more tattoos than even a generation before them.
Right.
And if we look at the way it's going,
it's acceptable in a lot of positions.
Yes.
No matter how they got a guy, he's an actor. And he I don't know if
maybe part of his role.
What?
Maybe part of his look is to be tattooed.
Right, his look. I mean, this is how he looks when he goes in for an audition.
Yes.
When they're looking for a thug, a criminal look, we need somebody tatted all up. And I've seen him on several shows. He's been on Law and Order. He's been.
Well, so then he fits that type that
and
they
that's what they're
wanted for
looking
that
for.
particular look.
So, and that's what she was saying. Well, maybe I have to go someplace where people are more tolerant of the tattoos. And she said the job market is so hard for young people that have tattoos. You look at Post Malone. He got himself all tattooed up, all in his face. She's got that's what I'm gonna start calling the Post Malone look. Because when I first saw him, honest to goodness, I started to cry. I was just, why do you think that you need this kind of attention to the point, and are you that empty that you feel like I gotta stand out, and then you do all of the stuff and you stand out, then you wonder why people be staring at you. I remember going into the post office one day, and I was standing behind this really, really big guy, and he had a neck tattoo, and he had on a short sleeve shirt, and he had his son with him. This cat was tattooed up every place. You know, when you're looking around and just seeing, what the atmosphere is like. And he was doing the same thing. He turned around, and when I saw him, I went, oh. And
because it caught you off guard.
It caught me way off guard. I mean, I couldn't even see what he might have looked like because he got tattoos every place. He even had where they close their eyelids, and they have their eyeballs painted on the eyelids.
Paint
on
the
tattoo
on the
lid when it's closed. So when even with your eyes closed, you look like you're seeing people. And you're right. People are judgmental. I'm judgmental, and I know that.
But also, as society is changing, because more and more people do have tattoos, the overall acceptance of it becomes greater because so many people have. I mean, you look at so many athletes, they are tattooed. So I mean, and if you're looking up to someone, and as young people look up to older people, whether they want to admit it or not, you do look at someone older, and
or you look at your idols.
That's your idol. That's looking up to someone. That's looking up to someone.
We have never. Our son has tattoos, and I just never would have thought that he would have got a tattoo. Let alone, he's not all tatted up, but he's got he's got a few tattoos.
But that's why I say, if you look at how the generations have gone,
right, that
more and more people have tattoos, and not just a few tattoos, but a lot of tattoos.
Let me ask you this, and this is for you two out there in the world. Give us a call. What's our number? I know what our number is: 929-477-3088. Again, that number is 929-477-3088.
Maybe it might be easier for them to do.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, yeah, we could chat. Okay,
if they want to come in and chat. But one of the things you have to stop and think about,
okay,
if you're looking at the generations, I mean, when we were kids, it was more taboo then to have tattoos,
and we only saw them on the motorcycle people, the people that run the motorcycle club.
Motorcycle people or sailors would generally who you thought would have a tattoo, and the rest of society did not. But over the years, because of I believe because of people in sports having tattoos or wearing earrings or doing different things that we normally didn't,
because there are more followers than there are leaders,
and more people start following them, and they said, "Well, if they can have it, I want one.
I want one just like that."
And so the one that the trend has kept going.
I know, and and are they going too far? In my opinion, yeah, you're going too far when you're coming out here in the world, and you first walk into HR, you apply for a job, and people, and even the HR people are very judgmental. Just like you mentioned before, in the entertainment industry, there's an image, your name, image, and your likeness. What kind of image are you putting out there? What do you want people to see when Mr. Kennedy walks into the room?
Well, like they look like we refer back to the young man who had a lot of tattoos, but when he went for roles that they were looking for somebody
exactly like him,
heavily tattooed, so he fit that particular role that they were looking for.
Right.
So
TJ Maxx wasn't looking for somebody like her, and especially in the front office, where you're in contact with customers, I would be put off. I could deal with them to a certain point. Yes, I'm being very judgmental, and I think it's, they get angry, like to me, she seemed more angrier that she thought it was for her tattoos. Okay, well, if you thought that, why would you go into a job like that? That most people that are in service positions, I mean, I've seen a lot of wait staff with tattoos.
Yeah.
I've seen, a lot of people in the hospitality industry.
Bodybuilders.
No, I don't think bodybuilders are allowed to wear tattoos, are they?
Well, I think anybody young now is allowed to wear tattoos because that is the trend. Do you think
the trend and tattoos can be permanent?
It can be permanent.
And there are now tattoo removal artists.
Yes,
it's like the tattoo
as well.
artist.
Yes,
and you got to
go in for everything.
Right, exactly.
In my opinion,
and looking at her, I just saw the sadness in her eyes, and maybe that's me
Yeah.
because it's like the look in her eyes. For me, it took over everything because she just looked so sad, and she looks so like, okay, I don't know. The look on her face was like, I need to be hired, and just because I have a lot of tattoos and horns on my forehead does not mean I won't be a good worker.
But you also have to.
Somebody's gonna have to give her a
There
chance.
are other people. There are just like she wants. She could create her own job too.
Mhm.
Though. I mean that's another out. When you look so much different than the norm, sometimes you have to go out there and beat your own path and say, okay, well now let me find something, a lane that I can still fit in, where it's comfortable for me as well as it is for the people around me, people who will be seeing me. I mean, because tattoos are far more acceptable now. You have to stop and think. There is a market out there. There is a market out there.
They even got a reality show.
You may not know where that market is in particular.
Well,
but it is out there though.
There's a reality show that I can't think of where I'm. You can probably Google it. There's a reality show, and they showcase. They say some of the best tattoo artists in the country, and I have to give it to them. These young people are so creative. You know, and when you go get a tattoo, make sure that your tattoo artist isn't drunk or under the influence of drugs and or alcohol, because they are too human. And I mean, they too are human, and they misspell words. You know, I mean, you got to go back and get it fixed. And this is another thing I'm concerned about, especially with people who have so many tattoos and the ones that they have in color that just look like. I saw this lady who had this. I learned to not call it tattoos. It's called body art.
Yeah.
And I get that. And we're already individuals. We already are different than everybody else. And we're all the same, 6 degrees of separation.
Well, that's
and so the reality show I'm talking about, I think it's called Ink Incorporated, where they come out and they compete who's got the best tattoo. How long did it take? It was quite interesting.
And as more people are exposed to that, I mean, it's always the greatest influence is on someone younger than you, because they're still new to things, where you have seen it,
and they're easily convinced.
Because that's how change comes. Wait a minute, that is how change comes. Because if we all were stuck in our ways, how would we ever know what change is? And nobody was willing to change. So you do hopefully change the generation behind you, hopefully for the better. In most incidents. But because people do like tattoos now, and it's far more acceptable in a broad sense. More broad sense.
I get that.
Acceptable.
I get that.
That eventually she will.
But do I want to look at you every day, with horns in your forehead, tattoos all up in your face, and she looked like she was a pretty girl?
Maybe she still feels that she's a pretty girl.
I would hope so.
But still, it's a different. There's a place for everybody,
right?
And her place may not be.
She could start a tattoo shop.
May not be at TJ Maxx, but it could be someplace else. So I don't want her to think, or want people to think, simply because she has a lot of tattoos, there's no place out there for her.
I didn't say there was no place out there for her. TJ Maxx was just like, well, you're not, you don't have enough experience. But how do you get experience when nobody will hire you for your first job? Well, and that's why presentation is still important. When I was reading the article, a lot of the human resources department said more than anything, they look at culturally fit, and they look at they look at how you're going to fit in with the company.
With everybody else around you.
With everybody else around you. And the statistic is that almost a third of Americans, over 33% of Americans have tattoos, have at least one tattoo. 22% have more than one tattoo. And then there's another, like a teen percentage, I don't remember right now, that they want to get tattooed all over themselves. As well. And they have tattoos on their toes and on their arms. And I saw one cat, he had a tattoo from here all the way up under his arm.
But it's a different.
I know that.
Because you're influenced
but everything is not going to be acceptable just because
everything
it's different.
Will be acceptable. But as it becomes more generic. That more and more it's more and more common that you
Did
see
you
some
just
of the
say
other
generic?
people.
That's the new way
Yeah,
I'm pronouncing generic. It's cool.
That people see it and it's like, okay, no big deal now.
Right.
I mean, because so many people have it, they don't stand out as much as they used to.
Right.
That's what.
But when you get, I think they start getting carried away when they start putting tattoos in their faces and and just and everybody that knows me who ever worked with us, no, you can have tattoos. I just don't want them to be visible. Because I don't want to cheat. I don't want to cheat you out of a position. I don't want them to, cheat me out of a position. If I know that that's how I feel, and I know this, I could tolerate a lot of body work. I can't tolerate the extreme look. And they were saying that she is extremely heavily tattooed, and she is.
Okay.
And a lot of people that commented on the post about her not getting a job at TJ Maxx, a lot of people who are tattooed said they thought it was more her attitude than it was her. Than it was her tattoo.
Sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees,
right?
Meaning that maybe
and you don't know how talented she would be.
What I'm saying is that if her attitude is because of my tattoos, is the reason why solely the reason why I'm not being hired.
That's what she thinks.
It's solely the reason. Well, then, if you want to become employable, then it's like, okay, are you willing to make changes so that you can be acceptable to employees?
And she said no. She said no. She wasn't going to do it. Why did she have to give up? How she feels.
Then that means that she should also look for a position that will accommodate her with her tattoos, because there are positions out there. It's just you pick, if you pick a particular spot that does not have that. And then say,
don't frequent that business if you feel like that.
Well, don't apply it that. Right. More than anything.
I wonder
if she said that. Wait a minute,
she thought it was her look, her tattoo.
Well, if that's how you feel, then you still have a market. It's like anybody who goes out for a job.
She's way too busy for me. It's too much stuff.
Okay, but think about this though.
To even try to get to what she does.
Okay, but
and in fairness, for her, I think that they could have been. TJ Maxx could have been a lot more professional, but everybody's with the automated. But they were professional.
And they said that she didn't fit in. See, they didn't come back and say it's because of your tattoos, because then that opens up a possible lawsuit. So they didn't put themselves in a position to be, up for a lawsuit. They said, okay, we're not taking you because of the fact that you have too many tattoos. That might have been an opening.
And when is it too many tattoos?
Wait a minute. I'm not TJ Maxx.
Okay.
So I'm not trying to say that they looked at her and said, okay, we counted the tattoos and said, well, you got one too many. If we would have accepted you if you had 2 less tattoos. The fact that they didn't bring that up, to even have it as an issue. She's bringing it up as an issue and saying that when she looked back, because everybody, when you go out and you apply for a job and you get rejected, hopefully you sit back and you look in the mirror, or you stop and say, wait a minute.
How could I have done something better?
Could I improve myself in this way or that way? Was my parents this or my parents that? What may kept me from getting that particular position that I was going out for? In her case, if you are not willing to make any kind of changes, well, then you're making it harder and you're forcing somebody to say, I'm going to accept you totally the way you are with no changes. And if I want you to have changes, that I'm wrong for wanting you to have changes. It's not that you can't have changes because you choose not to.
Right.
You have chosen to have a hard line. So here's my line in the sand. I want to look exactly the way I look, and you have to accept me exactly the way I look, whether you like it or not. Maybe
then that's a bully tactic. It sounds like to me. I have to accept you like you are. I didn't help you make the decisions to do that to your body.
But part
to make you what you think is unemployable.
But part of this is finding where that line that everybody can live within.
Everybody's line is different, though.
Because when we change, things are still changing.
Yeah,
and we have a whole new. A group of people, young people, are coming up now that think totally different than the way we thought when we grew up, because of different time, different era. We didn't have the internet. And the internet has changed so much on how people see, look, think, act, that to say, well, it wouldn't work for me. Well, no, maybe because you're older, but for somebody who's only 8 to 10 to 15, for them, all this is new and it doesn't bother them.
What's the 8, 10, or 15?
been going out into the world for looking for a job.
Who goes out at 8 years old to
I know.
look for a
I
job?
meant 18.
Okay,
I'm
because you
sorry.
said, I'm like,
I mean,
what?
but referring to somebody who's 8 years old, watching somebody on TV who has tattoos. So then, because they see somebody on TV and
Now
they
you
like
just trying
that
to clean
person,
up 'cause he's got
and you
it
see
on.
that person on TV, then you want to dress like that person or look like that person. We all we imitate somebody, whether we want to admit it or not. I mean, because you don't know it, you don't know yourself yet, because you're not old enough. So you see things around, just like that's why
There's so many
mimic
followers.
and imitate our parents, because that's the first impression that you get.
Mm-hmm.
So to say that we all are followers, because women, when you're a baby and you're helpless, you follow that person who came and fed you every day,
Right?
and you want to question, okay, well, how did you look, or how did you don't look? You said, oh, you're the one who feed me. I like how, no matter how you look, I like to look because you're feeding me, which is natural, but we're far more accepted to how people look and act when we're younger, even though sometimes we're brutally too honest too. When your child say, oh, mommy, that person is look like this, and then you correct your child,
or they'll go, mine, what's wrong with her face?
Because she looked different than
you're used to looking at.
And so you want to question, because not that always because of the think that it looks bad, but you might be excited, but wow, why does she look like that? And because
and that don't know what it sparks.
You don't know what sparks somebody else's imagination.
I absolutely get that,
because that's why we're individuals. You can see something and say, oh wow, I do like that. You may not think it's right, but I think that's right. Really
that's
cool.
Where it's your
that's
opinion.
Really cool for me.
And I don't understand why people who make these decisions, because getting tattoos is very personal. I mean, people get their baby's faces tattooed on them like at a certain age, because they want to always remember what they look like. And then they put
at that particular time, because we change. I mean, we continue to change. I mean, you go look like a little baby, then you grow and you have that.
Okay, I get that part. I mean, I don't understand why people think they need that many, where the whole body is a canvas full of tattoos. And what does that ink? Because they going into your skin. What does that ink, especially the colored inks? Wonder what it does to your immune system. As you get older. Question.
I mean, now that's something that we don't hear discussed widely at all. I would imagine probably in the next 10, 15, 20 years, it'll be something that they will talk a lot about.
Well, I hope it don't take that long to get to it.
But I do know that eventually somebody's going to be truly looking more in depth in it and say, okay, in 20 years, the ink then absorbed into your bloodstream now.
It's like the chicks that get the butterfly on the bottom of it, what they call them, a tramp stamp. Yeah. They get a butterfly put on them, and then as they get older, the butterfly just start going back into the cocoon as you get wrinkles and everything, and it look like a caterpillar on your back. I'm just saying, I've seen it happen to people.
But that's also as we accept things as we go along. I mean, the world is this whole world is changing dramatically.
Speaking of the world changing, speaking of the world changing, the college students at some of the most prestigious college campuses in the country, probably I could venture to say in the world, Columbia University, where the students are protesting the horrific.
That's like ground zero,
right, for the Palestinians. And then we got our pro-Israeli side. We got Palestinians, kids talking about, what are you trying to do to help the Palestinians? They're just caught between a
rock and a hard place.
Well, they caught between a boulder and some crazy people, because this terrorist group Hamas is holding these Palestinian men, women, and children hostage and using them for barricades around them. As Israel retaliates and, get the bombing them back, because they just did what Putin did. We just going to jump out there and kick your behind. We just going to start us our own war. Since you want a war, we going to give you a war. Everybody talk about how Benjamin Netanyahu is a warmonger, and, he's been looking for a fight and all of this, that, and the third. And the Hamas are, trickling. I mean, for all the hostages that they took, that they're using for human shields. First of all, to me, you been a punk ass coward. Why you need to have behind old women, old men, and babies and children? Because you don't want to hurt. You don't want to get hurt, but you want to do the hurting. Now they're saying the Hamas over there in the Gaza Strip are the ones that are, causing all of the confusion. That the Palestinians are innocent people, and I think that's what the that's what the college students are protesting. Them using the Palestinians as human shields to do their bidding.
It's more than that. I mean, because a lot of them are saying
a lot of who are saying the students,
the protesters, because there's more than one group. It said if you look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture being Palestinians are human beings as well as Jews.
Okay, we get
but that is what they're trying to get people to stop and realize. Wait a minute, you can't just say you're pro-Israel, and if to say by being pro-Israel that means that you're anti, Palestinian, as if they're not.
I thought the fight was between Israel and Hamas, not Israel and the Palestinian people.
It's not, but the Palestinian people are caught in the middle.
Right.
Okay. And it's like, how do
they're gonna all be coming over here pretty soon? I've seen the buildings go up for the apartments.
How do you separate one from the other when everybody look the same? That's another problem that you have when you say, the terrorist fighters are embedded into the general population,
right?
So it's hard for you to distinguish one from the other, and so a lot of innocent people are being hurt
and
killed. Okay, when we look at the number of Palestinians that have died since this conflict started, it's drastically far more Palestinians that have been killed than Jewish people were killed. Not that anybody's death is okay. It's horrible when anybody is killed because one group
for an ideology.
No, I hate.
But that's the way that's been since the beginning of time.
But if you go, a lot smarter now.
If you go by biblical terms. From the beginning, you believe that God created the heavens and the earth and man in his own image. And, he was like, oh, you're going to need some help. And then you get us women. It's from the beginning of time.
Okay.
Wait a minute, it's like we don't learn. Adam and Eve had two sons, Cain and Abel, and one brother killed another brother. So it became, this is the way of the world. I want to be the one. I want to be the head dog on the porch. And so for me to do that, I'm going to have to get rid of you.
I mean, hopefully what this protest will do is to get more people to learn to talk to one another. Because most of the problems that we have
in an intelligent way, you can't be talking to somebody about peace and all you got.
And all you care about is war. And all you care about is war.
Right.
That's what I said. Hopefully, this will get both sides to start talking because it's affecting a lot of people.
The world it's affecting. I mean,
more and more that everybody that we see these tensions that keep growing around the world, different groups against different groups. And we have to all stop and say,
but the United States is not taking care of the business here. I'm all for helping our allies.
But that doesn't mean the world doesn't need your help.
Okay,
sometimes
wait a minute.
Sometimes you can't step away.
See, that's why you have to keep it going. It has to be an ongoing dialogue.
Okay, with who?
With each other, with the Israelis, with the Palestinians, with the United States, with France, with Great Britain. Everybody needs to be able to come to the table. Russia, China, the Ukraine. What's his name? Vladimir Putin just went over there and jumped on his cousins and his brothers and sisters because how dare you want to live in a democracy? I want to rule the world. I want to rule this part of the country, this part of the world, and you're going to be a part of Mother Russia again. Okay, it's like he living in the past, way in the past. A lot of these politicians out here in America are living way in the past. You got a bunch of old men want to tell women what to do with their body, and they went back to the 1800s to get to cite some kind of but still that ain't none of their business. Right, but what?
Okay, it's not all across the country. It's not all.
The abortion issue is all across the country.
No, but
but I want to go back to the Palestinians and Israelis and the Hamas and this one fighting and that one fighting, and it's like they're not getting anything done except killing off part of the population.
But
what are they getting done that's cohesive?
Building hatred.
So that's cohesive.
Wait a minute, it's cohesive. You don't live on that side of the world, and that's why I say a lot of us here in America.
We're a lot closer to living on that side of the world. We have access to information immediately, instantly. So the world we are in one world. What do they used to call say a one world order?
Okay, but once again, if it was that simple, they wouldn't be fighting. Wait a minute, if it was that simple, they would not be fighting, because as intelligent people, intelligent people, human beings, you have no more right to exist than I do. We both have the right to exist. If you wanted to sit down and come up with it, Palestine is saying, make us our own state. Let us have our own nation. If Israel is saying to them, no, you can't have your own nation. Wait a minute, you're preventing them from, but you have your own state, but you're telling them they can't have their state. That's what I'm talking about, being more intelligent mind, saying, okay, wait a minute, just like you want to have the right to exist, I want to have the right to exist. If you make peace, no, this generation will never be happy. I'm not trying to pretend in one moment that this present generation will say, I agree with that, because I look at the past and say, well, this is what happened to somebody in my family. That's what happened to somebody in your family.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you allow people, the next generation, the generation after them, not to have to fight, then they start thinking differently, because they're not in that constant one against the other all the time. That's why generations that don't go through war think differently than the generation who had to go through war. Because you think about all the horrible things that happened to somebody you knew, somebody down the street, around the corner. They're thinking about who somebody happened to, their brother, their sister, their mother. But it takes a generation or two or three that is not living in conflict to truly start thinking.
We've been
better.
in conflict since the beginning of time, because people want to rule other people.
Yeah, but we have gotten better as a world. We're still not in world wars right now. When we only have
how many wars do we need to have to call it a world war? And why are we giving money to Taiwan? They're not in a war. They're giving money to the Ukraine, $61 billion. $61 billion. You could take that $61 billion. If we got that to give to the Ukraine, where's our $61 billion to fix the hospital system?
Well,
wait a minute, let me finish. Stop cutting me off. I want to know where the money is that to improve our schools, build new schools. The rail system needs to be rebuilt. That we got to get a bigger electrical grid, or whatever kind of grid we need, with all these gadgets and more gadgets are coming all the time. Somebody's got to have enough balls to say, this stops now. No, they just want to, this war, this anger, this hatred. When you say, people don't want to, Israel don't want to have the Palestinians have their right to a state, but they want to have a state. And so what is the end goal for Israel? That they just take over the Gaza Strip, that they just have all of that, and the Palestinians live up under their rule?
They're living up under their rule right now. Women.
But it's not going so well. Wait, hold on, Nikki. Nikki Hill, wait a minute. Nikki Hill said, oh my God, OMG, tell it, Mother Love. I'm with you on this one. I see your appointment to Kennedy, but I hope America doesn't get too involved with this long drawn out situation over there.
And I'm agreeing. What I'm saying is that we don't live there, and to say I know how they feel or how they shouldn't feel. What I'm saying.
Okay, well then, what is the protesters foundation then? If you said it's not over here.
Okay, wait a minute. The protesters over here are saying Palestinians have the right to exist, just like Jewish people have the right to exist. You don't sit back and say one group has the right to exist, but the other group
we'll just wipe you off the face of the map because that's what we feel like.
No. It's the same thing that Israel after World War II and what Hitler did to the Jews. Okay, we as a world said, okay, well, that was simply wrong. It was simply wrong. What
evil and wrong.
What Hitler did to the Jews. So therefore, we
and the Germans. I mean, for you to be able to brainwash that many people under your tutelage to do your bidding, to gather up people, steal all this stuff, take it for yourselves, and then dig a big giant ditch to put their bones in it after you incinerate
it. Then look at the other side of the coin. The Palestinians were there, and what's now Israel. They were there when the Jews were in Europe after World War II, and what horrible things happened to them. The world said, we will give you your homeland from the Bible. Okay, but that does not mean that there were not people living on that land now before they gave it back to them. And so that doesn't mean that those people do not exist or don't deserve to exist because of what Hitler did to them in Europe.
I know.
Okay,
but this is the part I don't get. This is the part I don't get. I really try to wrap my head around this. I don't understand war and people dying, and you're acting like death is an option. All of us are going to die. So you just want to kill our people early? Is that supposed to make you feel better? Because I'll get rid of them. I don't think they deserve to exist.
But
I don't
that's
think their
what
children
that's the
should,
problem.
you know.
But isn't that what
Oh,
we're
yeah, I
trying to
couldn't.
say? We're trying to say be smart enough as human beings to stop trying to say somebody else don't have the right to
Right.
exist. That all of us have
They
the right
do
to
it over
exist.
here in the United States.
Well,
What the
I'm saying is that-
neo-Nazis say, the Jews will not replace us. They criticize and discriminate against women, against people of color. I
Well,
mean,
then.
we're always being looked at, picked on,
But
picked
then-
apart,
but then
you know.
look at-
And
look
then
at-
a lot of us we could make. I don't say we can make better choices. We make different choices
We can
because
make
we live
better
in a
choices.
different. We're different.
I mean,
I'm talking about us and the people over there in the Middle East.
okay, but once again, not living there, you don't see it the same way they see it because you're not.
It's enough brutality to see on the news.
Well, it's still not the same.
I know.
It's over there because Palestinians.
Well, in that
Palestinians
case, you can't say that you know how they feel.
I didn't say I knew how they feel. I said they have just as much right to
Yes, they
exist as Jewish people do. And instead of older people saying, okay, well, this happened to my parents, this happened to my cousin, this was okay. Yes, I understand that. And I don't take anything away from what happened, the horrors that happened to somebody in the past. But how do you get to the future is that you make peace so the generations behind you will not have to see the horrors, to go through the angst and the hatred that you went through when you were growing up. You will never get things to change until you start getting the generation behind you and the generation behind them and the generation behind them not to have to fight.
If the leaders are there and this is what they're teaching and this is what the young people are doing, because kids will suck up like a sponge, and we all know that. And if you're saying, well, we're dying off. So since we're dying off, we got to start training our kids at a younger and younger age. I mean, you look at the turmoil and the murders and all the horrific things that are done to the women and children in Africa. They teaching little boys, 10, 11 years old, how to shoot an AK-47 so they could go in another village and rape and pillage and kill them all the men.
Doing that? Adults are doing
that's
that.
what I'm saying. Adults are teaching children in the next generation how to be evil,
and
how to be brutal.
I keep saying that's the only way to change things. You have to have generations that do not have to go through this madness. If you go through it, then you become bitter and angry because you had to go through it. If you want people to change and actually think differently, they don't go through the same way that me and you, but not growing up in the South and not knowing the brutality and how Black folks were treated in the South.
Enough of it in Ohio.
Okay, but it was not the same as the people who live down South. It was far worse conditions than they were.
I get that, and to bring that hatred up north that a lot of them did. A lot of them pretended to be abolitionists so they could get out of the situation. And the abolitionists were like, oh, no, we getting ready to abolish this. And some people see, the error of their ways as they get older.
With that, and that's what that's why I say it's the next generation and the generation behind.
Okay, but if this generation, our generation, and you got sons and you got daughters, and they're now adults, and they listen to everything you had to say, and they, and they followed in your footsteps, and these are really good, solid people. And you're proud to put them out there in the world to become viable, productive members of society.
Yes.
Some people, the adults in the room with these children, their grandfather, their great-grandfather, their grandfather, their father, and then them. Now, these kids have been seeing, this death and destruction, and the way that their parents and their grandparents speak of people, that they believe that. I remember when my first year in college, and I was glad to be away from Cleveland, get a new perspective, meet new people, and so it was myself, and at the time the dorm house 4 in a room. Okay, so I got there first, so I got the dibs on the bed. Always go first, you get the dibs on the bed. And so I came in, and then the other 2 came in, then another girl came in. So I now have myself. I got we became friends. Jill, she was Jewish, and I had Nancy, and I had her name just went out of my head. I remember what city she was from, and she was from a little town in Ohio, and she had said that she was always looking at me funny and stuff, and she'd be looking at me, And finally I asked her,
Why?
I said, what's the deal with it? And she always wanted to touch my hair. You don't touch no black woman's hair. I don't even want my husband touching my hair. So she said, can I touch your, why would you need to touch my hair? And she said, because they said your hair feels like steel wool, like Brillo. And I swear with Brillo, your hair doesn't look like that. And I said, really? And
So that's the lies that she's been told.
Right, because she had been told this for generations, that black people had tails, that we could talk, we could do different things with our voices and sound like demons. We would never sound. It was just crazy. Our hair was like steel wool. And so I was coming out the shower. And I'm in the room, in the dorm with all women. I didn't know I was supposed to, I had no problem with my naked body. And I like air drying anyway. So nonetheless, I'm getting out the shower. She done came in the bathroom. We got this big long mirror. And you can see from like your belly button up.
Okay.
And she came in the room. She came in the bathroom and she looked down. I said, sweetie, what are you looking for? She said, well, where's your tail? And I grabbed both cheeks of my butt. And I said, there's my tail right here. She said, no. The other tail, like the dragon tail. I said, well, where the H-E double hockeys did you get that crazy from? Okay, so I didn't know.
You didn't know what?
I didn't know that this. She said, this is what her father and her grandfather and her mother told her, that black people had tails that looked like
she got it. So she got a chance to experience something and found out the truth.
Completely different. But completely different. So she goes home for we go home. Everybody's going home for Thanksgiving break. Okay. So, and she was just fascinated, and all she wanted to do was hang out with me and my friends. This is a little white girl from a little tiny town in Ohio.
So she was learning something new.
And she embraced us. And I mean, we became really good friends. So she, we go home for Thanksgiving break. And, you come back after break and, you get ready for finals and what have you. So we were doing all that. And I kept saying, Sharon. I couldn't think of her name, Sharon.
Okay.
Everybody was like, well, where's Sharon at? I said, I don't know. Her stuff is still here. So I don't know what's going on, why she didn't come back.
Okay.
And another one of the roommates, my Jewish girlfriend, she didn't come back. So now we kind of, wanted to know what's going on. Sharon's parents, she went home to tell her parents that she had a black friend and that she loved her. And she said, she let me touch her hair. And you guys were lying to me. Her hair feels like, it's like cotton. It's so soft. And I just love her hair.
Okay.
You ain't getting away with touching my hair again. And she said, and they don't have tails. I saw her coming out the shower and she said her butt was her tail. And I said, well, where's the serpent tail? And she said, I don't have one of them. And Mom and Dad, you lied. You lied to me about people. These people are really kind. And she was just broke up. Okay. I never saw her again. Her parents came up and got all of her belongings and put up like she wrote it in like lipstick that said, you have brainwashed my daughter. I still hate Niggas. And I was like, this is what because she wants to learn. She learned.
She learned.
She learned. Well, yeah. And she was so excited.
It does. Wait a minute. They can't put that genie back in the box.
No, they could.
No matter what they say or what they do, their daughter got a chance to see the truth with her own eyes. So sometimes it takes you saying, that's why I say it takes the generation behind you, because women, her parents were teaching her one thing. When she got a chance to experience it for herself, and she saw that it wasn't what they said
anything like that.
It's just like I told you when I met you, is that my father used to always say, well, we were never going to travel. And I used to tell you, I couldn't wait to travel. I was going to see, I may not see the whole world, but I'm going to see a lot. I'm going to see as much of it as I can.
And not going to the military to do it.
The fact that I still wanted that sense of adventure, even though I was told at the time that you shouldn't want that sense of adventure. When you try to, keep people from knowing, that's how you control people, because lack of knowledge.
Right.
The more knowledge you get, you find out a lot of this stuff is just baloney to start with. You disliking somebody because of the color of their skin. You dislike somebody because of who they believe in. The fact that you believe should be more of the thing of rejoicing, that you actually believe in something greater than yourself.
Right.
That you don't just think that you're the center of the world. That if we all care.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think I'm the center of the world.
Okay, well, see.
I'm just saying.
But knowing that people have to know that if you understand that everybody wants to live. Everybody wants to be
wants to live well. I don't.
Well,
People
I mean-
don't want to. A lot of people saying, "Look, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I'm living
because they
day
have
to
no other
day."
option.
And you're right. And speaking of that, that situation, with these kids out here protesting,
You know,
and other kids are watching them protest, so they know that they have a voice.
but they also one of the things. Sorry to cut you off. It lets them know that people need to see and hear
From
both
other
sides,
cultures.
both sides of the story, not just be being told, okay, I only want you to hear what Jewish people have to say about the situation. I don't want to hear anything about what the Palestinians have to say.
Isn't
But
that
not
why a
listening.
lot of
That's why a lot of the problem happened, because you're not willing to listen to what
or
everybody
they
what
do
one
listen,
has to say.
or they do listen, and they will say, I don't want to live like this. And a lot of them will find a way, make a way out of no way to get to some place where they can live free. And America is the point.
It's a place, a great place to come to if you're trying to escape the harshness,
the tyranny, and the terrorism
of where you live. And that's what I said about education. The education helps to free the minds of millions of people who were thinking one way, but find out that things are not always, just because you were raised that way or taught that way,
doesn't mean you have to live like that.
And once you grow
because
up,
if I have did what they were telling me I was gonna be, I was getting stuff from everywhere. Oh, you're never gonna go to college. You're just gonna be some little whore having babies by a bunch of different men, and you're gonna be on welfare for the rest of your life. Oh, I'm having a flashback.
Yeah.
Okay, but
I understand what you're saying.
And I was like, wait a minute, you don't get to determine how I think and how I feel, especially as an adult.
They hope to,
and they hope they brainwash you enough. And is it really brainwashing, or is it them teaching the kids their culture? And then when the kids get out, they don't want to go back.
It's both, because you can teach somebody culture. You can also teach them about there's other cultures besides yourself. When you try to limit it, when you limit somebody and say, only believe this, and everything else around you is evil.
It's just a lie.
But then you're the ones who
are stifling the children.
Your child ability to see. That's why going to college opens up the minds of millions of people, because you get a chance to
traveling. Don't be afraid. There's a statistic that says the average person does not move more than 25 miles out of where they grew up.
Right.
20, I couldn't even imagine 25 miles. They think you and I are some kind of travel freaks, because you're going to LA again. I'm like, okay, but we work in LA, but that's what makes the world go around.
That there are people who are willing to get outside that. The majority of people the people will live like that, because it's far more comfortable. We look to be comfortable more than anything else,
and safe.
We want to. That's
come
comfortable
out,
and safe. It's called comfortable. It's called safe.
Come out my comfortable zone.
If I stay in these 5 blocks or 10 blocks or 30 blocks, I know everything that's happening basically in this area, so I'm comfortable. But is there a bigger world out there?
There's a
yes,
much
there
bigger.
is.
When I was growing up, my oldest sister, God rest her soul, she was very adventurous. And she would put up and get everybody in the neighborhood to bring out their barbecue grills and sell barbecue dinners and chicken dinners to raise money so the kids in our neighborhood would have an opportunity to know what it's like to go camping, to live outside, would have an opportunity to go to an amusement park. Most of the kids in our neighborhood, it was an annual event in our family. We went to Geauga Lake. We got up when it was dark, and a lot of kids never went to an amusement park.
Expand your knowledge and your horizon immensely, because you got a chance to see that it was more than just 50-50.
That's what I was going to tell you about my sister. She was so adventurous, and she would just be doing all kind of stuff that make them hustle to make money, even pimping me out as a comedian, which I didn't mind until she said she wasn't going to pay me. But nonetheless, she made sure, and I don't know what happened to her, but she had agoraphobia. She didn't want to go out, out of her perimeter.
Out of her safety zone.
It became a safety zone. And I kept saying, what happened? Why don't you want to go out in the world? She said, well, girl, you know what you're going to do? You're going to open up that back door, and you're going to go out there, and you're going to play in the backyard of the world. You are going to travel. You're going to see things that I'm never going to see. So I need you to make sure you pay attention so I can live my life vicariously through you. That's when I found out what vicariously meant. And I said, really? And for a long time, I did that, and I always see, okay, what was the adventure like today? Because I know you did something you probably could go to jail for if they caught you. I'm like, hey. And I would give her the details, and we would just laugh, and have such a good time. She went out of Cleveland once to come and see me in Columbus. And the guy that brought it on, he had a Flintstone car where you could see the road because the floorboard had rotted away. And she said, I want to be able to control my environment. And that was it. She bought up all the houses on her street. You know, everybody on her street were tenants of hers. You know, so she made her world where she was comfortable. You know, she felt safe there. And see, me, I'm like, I'm going to go see what's going on. I remember when I first told you we going to China. And you said, China where? So I was talking about the China Inn. And I said, no, we're gonna go to Beijing and Shanghai and Dalian. And you said, China? I said, yeah, we're going to China. And you went, okay, let's go. And we always go on adventures. I used to tell us, and listen, when you got kids, young kids, make sure you let them see the world. Let them know that, you know, they got to have their medal when they go out there. You kowtowing and babying them in a helicopter. They're going to go out here and not have any coping skills. And we see it with the generation and our grandchildren. The majority I'm saying my grandchildren's ages, because a lot of their friends don't have coping skills.
I mean,
they don't know how to diffuse an argument.
But it comes down. That's why I tell you, some things that should be taught in school that are not. If you teach morals and scruples, I mean, if you want more people to be kinder and more gentler, to say, well, if you don't teach them what kinder and more gentler means, how do you expect them to be able to act that way if they don't? You don't need to be looking at. They don't know it. You don't need to be looking at. You don't need to be looking at nobody. I remember growing up. I know you remember this. And this is probably for every child in our generation. Don't you go outside this house and spread our business. What happens in here stays in here. And if something goes on out there and it comes back to me, because it's going to come back to me. That's what she had me scared. It's going to come back to me. It's going to be hell to tell the captain. And she was the captain. When you think about that, though, I mean, it's part of what keeps people from having a lack of knowledge or being scared to do things. And then when they grow up, how they treat their kids and teach their kids based on what they did. You know, be scared of this or be scared of that, or do it simply because I said to do it. Don't be adventurous enough. And
don't ask me any logical questions. That ain't none of your business.
I mean, just like they say,
when we say that, we're talking about the elders.
The world as a whole would be better off if we were taught finances while we're in school, because our parents
home.
Well,
it got to start there.
Well, home. Everything cannot start at home, because most people, if you
doesn't
be
start
honest,
at home,
wait a minute.
The school is there to help influence that.
I have this question to ask. Did your mother ever once honestly sit down to you and say, I get X amount of dollars in my paycheck, and from that X amount of dollars, this is what I pay. My parents never did that. Not once.
We had to get jobs as soon as you turned 14. You went and got a job.
Okay, the fact I had a job,
and you had to contribute.
I had a job, but that had nothing to do with me knowing what kind of money my father made, what kind of money my mother made when they went to work. No, I would not even thought or dared to ask them, well, how much is your paycheck? Now, with your paycheck.
Oh, no.
Okay, well, when you say that people, it should be taught at home.
Yeah.
Most people, and this is just being honest, is not going to sit down there and say,
talk to your kids about financial literacy.
Here's my paycheck, and this is what I do with this is how these are how I spend the money for my paycheck. No, you don't do that with your child. No. That's why I say some things need to be taught in school, because it's not going to be taught at home, because most people will not want to be embarrassed or have to show their child the shortcomings of their financial situation. Just simply because you say, oh, well, it should be taught at home.
This is okay. Our financial literacy was this. My mother was a widowed woman who had 6 small children, and she never remarried. So she virtually raised us, as a
not
single
virtually.
parent. She did raise us as a single parent.
Virtually.
But she said she
had help. She had help.
And she made sure that
she never remarried.
No, she said my tombstone gonna say the unremarried widow of, and that's what it say on her tombstone.
Okay.
And we heard this too. I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. I'm giving you our financial stuff. She said, look, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul.
And that meant what to you?
And that meant she's going to rob Peter because maybe she can't pay the rent. And so
wait, that was all we got. You added the part because she couldn't pay the rent. See,
No, I'm just using that. I'm just
well,
using that as a marker.
Okay.
It wasn't that we
Okay.
never worried about having a roof
Okay,
over our
wait,
head.
wait.
Her
That's
thing was 6 kids, and they all, it was a
Okay,
7-year
the point
gap
that
between my older sister and my younger sister. And her thing was we were growing too fast. It seemed like every 2 weeks somebody needed a new pair of shoes.
Okay,
somebody needed new
is
clothes.
that showing you the financial situation? That's what I said. Most people do not.
They don't
never get to see. Okay, how the parents put food on
Right.
the table. That's not something as a child that your parents stop and take the time to say, I'm going to show you the struggles that I'm going through while you're growing up.
They just didn't know.
Okay, so
that didn't happen for us.
For you to be taught financial literacy in school while you're growing
this
up.
Was our
society as a whole will be better.
This is another thing she used to say to all of us. Because to the best of my recollection growing up, she never had a credit card or a checking account. She paid cash for everything. And her reasoning was, you pay as you go and you don't owe. When you owe somebody, they're gonna be charging interest on that money that that you got.
That's also the area that she grew up in.
And she said, don't. She used to tell us girls, don't never let a man buy you anything. If he want to do anything for you monetarily, just tell him to give you the money. Because if y'all break up and it's a whole bunch of confusion is going on, he'll come in. And I saw this happen with my.
Okay, so that meant that every man did that.
Every man didn't do that. Wasn't gonna never be around every man. But she was saying the men that you are around, don't allow them to buy you anything, because these men out here, they get pissed off at you. They'll come snatch that coat off your back.
Isn't that generalized? Is it to say that every
I didn't say I can't be with every man.
Okay, wait a minute. You missed the point that I said. Wait a minute. You said it.
She said, "Don't let no man." I didn't say. She didn't say that. Don't let every man.
Okay.
She said, "Don't let."
The point that all I said was that is to say that every man would do that.
That's not to say that every man would do that.
She said, "Don't let."
She said, "Let that be one of your markers. Let that be one of your points." You got to know what kind of
trust that you can't. Wait a minute. That you can't trust the man that you.
Okay, that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
I mean, hear what you said.
Her foundation for us when we were gonna get involved in relationships, and hopefully your parents will give you good advice. And one of her nuggets of advice was, don't let a man buy you anything. If he wants to do something for you, tell him to give you the money. I didn't say that was her thing. And so
I would disagree with that. I didn't disagree with
that. But you're trying to lump in every man. I didn't say every man was going to do that.
Wait, because she said it in the journal. She didn't say, John, don't you ever, if John buy you something, tell him the only way he can buy you something.
There wasn't that specificity. The marker was any man you get involved with.
Any man means any man.
No, any man we got involved with. It wasn't any man out there. Okay. It wasn't my uncle. I am listening to what I'm saying.
That is what you just said.
I said,
she said,
don't let any man that you're involved with buy you anything. That's what I said.
Which is to say that all men cannot be women. Because she didn't put a name to it. Because she didn't put a name to it.
That's why it was.
Any man is all men in general. I mean, honestly, you said
I'm not gonna be involved with all men.
Okay, so you're
she
not
told
listening.
me to tell you, don't buy me anything. If you want to do something nice for me, you give me some money.
Okay, so that's what she said. That was her mistrusting men. Does that mean you have to distrust men the same way because she distrusted men that way? Wait a minute. Did you have to mistrust men because your mother said don't trust them?
No.
That's the only point
I knew how to pick. I knew how to pick.
Did I make my point is correct then? She said any man
don't let any man you are involved with, any man I'm involved with, any man.
So that means don't trust any man. Any man that you are involved with, you cannot trust.
No, that is not what I said.
You say you did.
She said, "Don't let a man that you're involved with." I'm not involved with every man. I'm involved with you.
Okay.
Period.
So she said, "Don't trust me, women."
No, she didn't say don't trust me. Okay. She said get to know him, find out if you can trust me. And I did get to know you to find out I could trust you. I wasn't putting that kind of time and energy into just any man.
Then you not. The point that I made.
No, you
because when you're not listening. Wait a minute.
I am listening.
You a general
I disagree with what you're saying.
Okay, we'll disagree.
And it's not a general statement. And since you wanted me to put a name on it, I'm putting your name on it. Okay, she said, "How well do you know him before you get all involved with him?" I wanted you find out if he's trustworthy. Find out how he is with his mother and his sisters and other women around him. Find out if he's gonna be safe and trustworthy if he's around other women when you're not there. These were markers that she said you need to have a foundation to stand on when you're talking about building a relationship. And that was what I'm saying. That is what she taught us to do. You know, I'm just saying.
Okay.
You know, we'll get to the other stuff.
Okay.
And
you're just saying. I'm not disagreeing with what you're just saying. All I said is that
it wasn't a blanket comment on any man. Women have different relationships to men. Some men look for the really needy women. Look for women that I used to ask some of my younger relatives, and you know, how did they select? Okay, I we'll be back on another day. This is Mother Love. Oh no, I am Mother Love. And he loves Mother Love.
Yes,
now remember this. No matter how big or tall. Oh, it went out big or tall. Short or small.
Nikki had one more comment.
Oh, wait a minute. Nikki got to know. I see your point as well as Kennedy. This is such a hard subject to discuss and understand, but you guys are doing a great job. Thank you. I got a thumbs up. We need more open dialogue like this. I'm glad you look at it as open dialogue.
Because it is open dialogue. You won't learn anything if you're not willing to hear somebody else's opinion.
Okay, you already put it up here. Okay. Love you.
Love you.
See ya. One. Peace.